Makes me feel better.
Hey, everybody, this is Mac with Veterans Achieve Business Systems. Um, we are continuing our mission statement with the Mastermind, and I'm kind of excited about this today. I met Todd actually through another group originally, NRG, and he joined our group that we work with, Achieve Systems. I've always referred to Todd as the dreadlock man bun guy, but he has his hair down today. Um, I tease him, but I do it with a lot of respect. Todd and I started working together about a year ago. Um, I had a nightmare situation going on with my email provider. She had moved out on a boat, and I'd have my email go down. People would be telling me they had $100,000 orders sent to me, and I couldn't find them. I couldn't get them. And she was on a boat, didn't communicate for days at a time. And that's one of the areas of our business that is so important. Uh, if we're not getting email communication, it's tough. And with you could always make a phone call, but when you have 100 different line items and pricing and everything, an email just makes life a whole lot easier. Todd and I have expanded our work together. He's put together my webpage. He's controlling my YouTube channel. And we really want to talk today about some of the tools tied into the office communication and security, and how do we protect ourselves and our customers. Todd, buddy, I appreciate you coming on today, man. I'll probably tease you a little bit.
Thanks.
Otherwise, you think I didn't love you. But
Thanks. Yeah.
why
Yeah.
don't
No,
you
I
get
appreciate it.
started?
All right. Excellent. So thanks, y'all. Thanks for all coming in today to hear what I have to say. And it's going to talk a little bit about, like you said, security and your business systems and your technology, and be pretty educational and hopefully learn something. And hopefully I keep your attention with all this tech talk. All right. So got some slides here. I'll pull up for you. So really, the focus is like cyber readiness with whether you're solopreneur, small business, or enterprise. We all are targets of increased cyber attacks and activities. So, what are the ways that we can protect ourselves? Well, first, let's. Can everybody see my screen? Okay.
Yes,
Which screen am I showing? Actually, I don't think I selected it. So
solopreneur and small business.
perfect. I didn't. It happened so quick. I didn't see my selection. Okay, here we go though. So we're going to talk about some of the real risk of cyber awareness, cybersecurity. So, small businesses, a lot of times people say, well, I'm so small, like, I'm not big enough to be a target or to be attacked. Well, the truth is that small businesses and solopreneurs are easy targets. So, it's like the low hanging fruit, slim pickings. And so now they have automated and AI attacks that just are easy wins for hackers, right? The emails can get compromised, credentials stolen. It all adds up. This can cause downtime, and it can cause lost trust. So your client's confidence can be broken. Um, if you could, like in the chat, if y'all could tell me about like what industries you're in, and what type of scams you maybe have heard of or what you may be worried about in your business. Has anybody heard of a fake invoice scam where someone got into someone's email system and they send an invoice over to get a payment? That's probably one of the most common ones I've seen. Account takeovers, ransomware is a big one. That's where they lock up all your information and say, pay me this amount of money to get your information back. Maybe just lose as simply as losing a laptop could be a risk, right? And we all know about downtime and how technology, when it's not working, can make our businesses halt. So those are some of the common attacks. Common vectors in security could be stolen passwords. Maybe your software is missing updates, and so they use the vulnerabilities in old software to get access into your systems. Another, what do they want? What do attackers want? They want to become you, so they steal your identity or they compromise your email and impersonate you. They want to steal your money, so there's invoice and wire fraud. Ransomware, like we said before, can stop operations, and stealing data is another one. So whether that's your client's data or your internal processes, or maybe like Jim, I know he does inventions and works with inventors. So there could be the trade secrets or proprietary information that gets taken. Um, so small businesses, they don't need a huge data center or really complex operations in IT, but they do need a secure foundation. So they need a secure email system. They need a safe way to transfer their files. They need to protect their devices that accesses all their information. Backups and recovery is another good area. So you want all your data to be backed up, and maybe it's an accidental deletion, or maybe someone stole it. You want to be able to recover that quickly. And one that most people miss is a response plan. Do you have a plan for when things go wrong? I mean, if you have a plan for when things go wrong, let me see, raise your hands. All right. There's 6 domains of small business cybersecurity. In the middle here, you have the humans, right? That's the main target, is the humans and taking their identity. Then you have data, the devices that we use to access the data, and our communication systems. And around all of this, you have hopefully a wall to protect it using visibility, response, and recovery. Let's talk a little bit more about humans. So humans are the main targets, and how attackers exploit you is they use things like urgency, like emails that say act now. I'm sure you've all seen an email that wasn't legit, that's like had an urgency behind it. Or maybe it's the authority that they use, so it looks like it's coming from somebody official, and you better listen to them, or maybe you're going to lose their job or something, or maybe it's familiar at the same time. That's kind of part of that authority that lowers your guard because it looks right, it looks familiar. Or maybe there's a little bit of a fear tactic where they threaten to suspend your account, so you must act now, log in and change this because your account's going to be suspended. Or just fatigue, man. Maybe we're all working hard, we're tired, we're busy, we're juggling a lot of things, and so our guard gets let down, and so they use that against us. Here's an example of like an urgent request. I don't know if you can really see that, but basically the email, a real email versus a fake, is a little example here, but you can see in the email address that this says it's like not a reputable domain name, the .net, whereas this is a .gov.au, so you know that that's the real one for this organization. So we look for little signals like that, but there's tends to be urgency or something to make you feel like you trust it. Like they use the logo, so that's pretty trustworthy, right? But you must always check the email addresses. 5 rules that I would say that you could take away from this right away today is to mitigate that human psychological manipulation. You can pause 10 seconds before acting on those urgent requests. Um, if there's a payment that looks, you didn't really expect that, instead of replying to that email, pick up the phone and call that person and say, hey, I saw that you sent me an invoice. Is that correct? And that's a great way to stop those invoice scams. Is everybody familiar with MFA? Multi-factor authentication. So I see some yeses, I see some nos. So that one's like that code you get when you log in. You put your password in, and then they want a second form of a verification to verify that you are who you are. That might be a code to your email, or code on your app on your phone, or a text message code. So if you see those come in and you didn't actually trigger that, or you don't expect that to come in, don't approve it. One of the most common scams I've seen on Facebook, actually, in Marketplace, is people will say, okay, yeah, before we want to make that purchase, I just need you to verify you are who you are. And they send you a Google code. And what happens usually when they're sending that Google code, they're not really trying to verify who you are. They're trying to steal your phone number and set up a Google Voice phone number. That's super common. I've actually ran into that quite a few times and helped people fix that. So never approve MFA prompts, multi-factor authentication, two factors, same name, without if you don't expect them. Another thing is be careful with links in your email. I'm sure we've all heard this, right? Links can be doors into other places that you don't want opened. And attachments are like packages that look safe at first, but once you open them, it opens a whole can of worms. Another thing is keep your business work inside your business systems. You don't want to mix that with your personal systems. If you're buying tickets to the concert on Saturday, keep that in your personal inbox so that you're not getting tricked with fake Ticketmaster emails that are just kind of fishy. So rules will always be, when we have these type of rules in place, we help mitigate our human flaws with systems and accountability. So systems help turn your mistakes into events that don't harm you. Another part of all this is identity. And so what's your identity? We all have digital identities. It's like back in traditional offices, we'd have maybe a badge that would get us access into certain rooms. You'd scan it, and then that door unlocks. So you want to protect your badge. And what your badge looks like today is like your email address. Maybe you get that from Microsoft or Google, and you have your domain.com in it. When you log into that account, a lot of times we can log into other places, like maybe a tool that you use for your business, or maybe your shared documents drive where all your data is kept. And so we must protect our identity. This is one of the domains. And this is another example, like email is that master key, that master badge. And we must protect that. Permissions. Here's another takeaway that you can take today. Your permissions. So if we have our identity, and let's say that our identity is our main email account that we use to check our email every day, do our business with. Now, if that same account has administrative access to all of your systems, that is a risk. So what you should do is you'd always have a separate account for your, did I lose my share? Oh, there it goes. I saw something change. So if we have our our main account as an administrator, that becomes an issue if you click one of those links and then they steal your identity, and now they have access to the whole keys to the system. So you always want to make sure that your regular email address is a regular account and that your administrator account is a separate account. Okay, so let's understand some of the risk that are threats to our identity accounts. Raise your hand if you've heard of phishing?
Yeah.
That's a PH, not like out on the river, we're getting fish, but they're phishing information from you. So what they do is they, in the email or other formats, maybe through your Teams messaging, they send a link to you that trick you into going to a sign-on page. And then with that sign-on page, once you put your credentials in, now they've stolen your credentials. So that's one attack. Another one is many people reuse passwords. So let's say I have my state revenue center where I log in to pay my taxes for my business. And I use the same email as I used to buy those tickets from the Ticketmaster to go to the concert. So let's say Ticketmaster gets hacked. Now they have my credentials from Ticketmaster, and they're now going to use them to go into my revenue login or maybe my bank login. And so when we reuse passwords, it creates a risk to us. So that's one of the attacks that they use on us is they steal passwords. Another one is MFA fatigue. So they bombard you with those code prompts until you accidentally approve one. Again, being aware of those. A recovery takeover is another one where attackers use um, weak recovery options to reset your password. So maybe you don't have a good backup email, or maybe it's a personal email that's being used, and it got access to it. Our communication systems is another part that we must protect. So what type of communication system do you use in your business? Anybody got one?
Email, text, social.
Email, text, social, exactly. So all of those systems can be abused through different scams, such as spoofing, which is a fake from address. Maybe they look like it's supposed to be from somebody. Here's a good example of one I've seen. There was a roofing company. Their email was somethingroofing.com, or sorry, somethingroofing@gmail.com. Since it was a free Gmail, anybody can make those. So what the attacker did is they said something roofing at Gmail, but they put an extra O in roofing. And then they started emailing their clients and asking them for payments. And so that's a spoof. That's what we call spoofing. Fake invoices, we've talked about that a lot because that goes with hand in hand with spoofing. Um, Now they use AI written. So some of these attackers come from other places that don't speak English natively, and people used to pick up on that. But now they use AI to write perfect English, perfect looking tone and grammar, and that's how they attack people. So that's another way. And then, of course, impersonation. So why? So we could have it at Gmail email, or we could have you at yourbusiness.com. As you saw with my last example, anybody can make an at Gmail. So if you use your business name at Gmail, very easily could it be spoofed and attacked. Whereas it's a little bit harder to impersonate you at yourbusiness.com because you can control the accounts that get created for you at yourbusiness.com. So if there's one thing that there's a couple of things, but if there's something you could take away today that I would recommend that you would introduce into your business, it would be to leave the free domain, the free email system of at gmail.com and move into a .com with your business name, because you can control it and you can also enable more anti-spoofing controls. I usually recommend Microsoft 365 for this. A lot of us use Office from Microsoft, like Word, Excel, PowerPoint. This is made in PowerPoint right now. So when you have a Microsoft 365 account, your login can access all of those with the license. It's easier to add security into Microsoft. It's more secure than, say, Google Workspace. And there's a lot more third-party tools that can integrate with Microsoft 365 to create more secure practices in your business, especially as you scale and grow. Does anybody use Microsoft 365 or Workspace right now? Nice. Yeah. Awesome. All right. So email isn't naturally safe for sensitive data. Email is pretty much open when you send it out across the web. There are some security protocols that are starting to be introduced. It's becoming more common, but naturally email is pretty much not safe. It can be intercepted a lot of times. Attachments and forwarding can create exposure. So it's a lot. You could do a lot more encryption when you have one of those .coms or Microsoft 365 enabled email systems. So with communications, a lot of what we want to mitigate in the risk is we want to reduce fake emails. We want to reduce those links that get into emails. We want to verify money, and we want to send documents safely. So there's a couple different things to talk about later that help reduce those risks, but that's what we want to focus on when it comes to communication. Now, devices are what we use. That could be your phone, that could be your laptop, maybe your tablet. It's how you access your data, right? So we need to protect the devices themselves. Many people are familiar with antivirus. Everybody's heard of antivirus software, Norton, all of that. Well, that was great when it first came out. It still is good, but there's so many other aspects of a device that could be attacked. And antivirus is just a list of known threats. So we imagine you just had a list of people of things that you knew were bad. Well, guess what? New things come out every day, and antivirus is usually a bit behind on that. Some of the risks that we can see in our devices is like malware, which is the viruses or ransomware, software that does bad things. Your device could be stolen, and then maybe someone can access what's on there. So we want to make sure that our devices are encrypted. Maybe you're using unsafe Wi-Fi at a coffee shop. When you know who all works at a coffee shop at times. I sure do. I'm always up in the coffee shop, and well, when I'm on that, if I'm there, I try to use my hotspot on my phone, or I have a VPN which encrypts and scrambles my data while I'm on that network. Um, so good device security is we want to stop unknown software from running. That's one of the main things, and that's what antivirus kind of does. But it really just looks for what's known to be bad, whereas maybe it's just some software that's running that you don't know about in the background. Antivirus doesn't necessarily stop that, but there are softwares out there that can say only let the stuff I trust and I know run versus just everything. Because like Windows, Macs, they're all out of the box allow just anything to run. And so when we start to say only allow the things I want to run, that's what we call zero trust. You want to limit what apps can touch. So here's one that I've seen people have downloaded PDF readers so they can open their PDFs on their computer from the internet. And so next thing you know, that PDF reader that they didn't vet or make sure was legit was actually in the background exfiltrating their files to an off server somewhere else. And so there's, again, antivirus doesn't stop that. Antivirus just looks for known threats. Whereas a zero trust security system would look for, hey, why is this PDF reader doing more than what a PDF reader needs to do? Um, and then another one that we miss that's common is updates. I mean, does everybody who looks at their updates every day? Yeah, every day. I mean, it's a lot, right? How can we keep up with updating Adobe, updating Word, updating Windows, all these different things all the time? Maybe my hardware needs an update for the software that allows that to run. And so there's very sophisticated software that can manage this more on autopilot for you and test it. But what happens is most updates are for security patching. Like they find holes in security, and an update is to patch that hole. So updates are huge, and we want to detect weird behavior like that PDF pretty early on. Data, we all uh, we all handle data in our business. That could be client documents, invoices, maybe employee records, HR, all of that kind of stuff, our customer databases. And by law, we're legally obliged to protect this data. There's GDPR, HIPAA compliance for doctors' offices, etc. All businesses handle data and they must protect it. And so there are legal regulations that we must follow. And some of the way that data gets exposed is people sharing the documents over email, um, people using personal cloud for company data, even USBs, like people plugging in a USB on a computer at an office, they could have little scripts that run on it and take all their data. So we just want to make sure that the data is protected. And so how some of the ways that we can protect stuff is through visibility, response, and recovery. So visibility is like having cameras around the office. So when something goes wrong, you want to be alerted. For example, when an admin password is changed, you should get an email or some type of notification. If a PDF reader, like we just talked about earlier, was doing that in action, you should be notified that, hey, your PDF reader is doing something that it really shouldn't. Alerts when someone signs in from the other side of the world. You just logged in Chicago or Denver. 5 minutes later, someone just logged in Australia. You should be notified of things like that, right? Um, and so you should also have an incident response plan. So Who do you call when these things happen? Who do you notify with your clients? Do you lock out those people who just logged in Australia automatically? Having the system in place will help you respond to things quickly. Um, let's let's talk about some of the ways you could protect yourself now. I've talked about some of the risk. I've talked about what's out there. So we have identity security systems, um, like a password manager. This is something you can implement today with your business is getting a password manager. There's a lot out there. When I say password manager, I don't mean the one built into your browser because those can be easily hacked with a little script. So there's products out there that enable a password, master password that you use to log in. And then you want to have an MFA on that password manager too. So you should be sent a code to also verify that you are who you are. And then this allows you to have unique passwords without having to memorize them all in your head because you can generate a unique password. And then you also can share those securely to other people on your team. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but you want to separate your admin accounts from your user accounts. So if you're checking your email with it, you shouldn't be able to go to the admin center with that same login. Those need to be separate. Turn on MFA. Do this today. Go to your bank accounts, go to your payroll systems, go to your everything that's important and start turning on the multi-factor authentication. This is going to be passwords get stolen every day. And then they're sold online on the black market, which is we call the dark web. And um, when you have MFA, it creates that second form of verification other than a password to protect your system. So one thing you can do today, if there's one thing you take away, turn on MFA and everything. Email security systems. So how do we protect our emails? We have something called domain authentication. Um, that basically says there's some settings on your email systems where you can make sure that emails that come from only your email system is authenticated because when the person receives the email, there's a little check in the background to see, hey, did this email come from the place it's supposed to come from, or did somebody set up a server somewhere and they started sending emails as me? So that's authentication on the domain. Then there's filtering. So we've all heard of a spam filter. These advanced spam filters that you can integrate with your mail systems use AI to identify, oh, this is a phishing email. Oh, this looks like it came from Microsoft, but the email is clearly showing that it's not. So it's not just using your eyes, but now you have intelligent software looking for it and checking it for you and putting it into a safe little place. Actually, this is something I implemented for Mac, and it helps catch a lot of the spam and stuff that he's had an email address for years. So as you can imagine, over time, people get that, and then they can try to send nefarious stuff your way. Um, there's also safe preview. So whenever I click links in my emails, it goes through this process where it checks the link first. And if it's not a safe link, it'll usually catch it and say, hey, this is suspicious. It doesn't look right. And then another one is encryption. So you can send out emails and let's say you're asking a client for their bank records or their information. You never want to send that over email, but if you have an encryption service on your email with a portal, then that makes it compliant and safe to be able to transfer. So it's another way you can add it. So this is that spoofing. I actually have a quick test if you're interested. I'm gonna actually put it in the chat for you. I'll put it in the chat a little later at the end, where you can check your domain name right now if that's what you use for your email, and you can see if you have these three acronyms SPF, DKIM, and DMARC set up correctly, so that your domain name is authenticated properly, so that people can't spoof your email. Actually, every time I'm at conference, I always have that set up to where you can come by my booth and check your email, and it'll tell you right away if you're missing that security. Spam and phishing filter, we talked a bit about it. So that's like your bouncer for your email. Behavior-based email, so it uses AI to help identify the unusual sender patterns. So I use a system like this where everybody who emails me, I either say whether I trust them or I don't. and so they get on my allow list. It's zero trust ideas put into your email security. Um, and then we have the device security. So allow listing is a huge thing I recommend that people have. Antivirus just simply isn't enough these days. So whenever I install something on my device, it goes through whether it's approved or not. If it's not approved, I submit it to my security team. They check it within a couple seconds. If it's a virus or not, if it's approved, they'll just push it through. 5 minutes later, I'll get a little pop up notification, and they say it's safe. It's not a virus, and I can install it. It also, so if ever I did have some software that was acting crazy, it would catch it, right? Strong ransomware protection is when you have those type of systems in place. Ransomware tends to be something that one you don't approve of. It just runs in the background. So maybe you just accidentally downloaded it. It hijacked another download. It run in the background. It starts to scramble up all your data, and then you have a big message: pay us $100,000 to this place if you want access to your systems again. So when software can't just run by itself, that stops ransomware. If ransomware is just software, how can it run if only the list of allowed things can run? Um, Elevation control is another little piece. So if you log into your computer as an admin, this is the same with what I was saying with your emails. Then when software's run, they can usually access other parts of your computer. But when you have some type of control in the place that blocks this and only allows it per case basis, you can prevent unauthorized access. Some storage control. So a lot of times you can disable USBs. So on my computer, only my approved USBs can actually run on my computer. So if I was at conference, or I don't know, if I was in a coffee shop and I went to the restroom and someone tried to put a USB drive into my computer, it wouldn't run because it's not on my list of approved USB drives. When I get a new one, I just go through the process and set it up. You just learn processes. Yeah. EDR and MDR is an endpoint detection and response. So this is that modern antivirus. What it does is it detects, hey, this software is doing something over here that it shouldn't be doing. It's not just like, oh, this software is on that list. So easy way to identify new threats. And it lets you alert people. And then usually a managed IT provider or an IT team would have a team that is watching these alerts and analyzing whether they're true or false. Let's let's move past some of these. Cyber insurance is another part of a business that you could use to protect your business. There are insurance policies out there with agencies that will help you pay for remediating after an attack, or they will pay for the losses and damages to your company. And so, cyber attacks these days can cost anywhere from some $10,000, couple $1,000 to closer to six figures. And a small business, that's a pretty devastating impact. Plus, your loss of reputation that could come from it because your client's data was stolen can cause and lost revenue. So, cyber insurance can help you protect you from those type of damages. So that's kind of like the what I got today. I do have this document here where it's a checklist of some of the things I've talked about that you can protect yourself from ransomware attacks or other cyber attacks in your business. And if you scan that QR code, you can download that for free and be a little checklist to let you know about what you can put into your business. I would like to open the floor for you to ask me any type of questions about IT or cybersecurity or anything you've heard of. Maybe I can put some clarification on it.
Yeah, thanks, Todd. Some of the things that I've recognized since we've been working together, I know you give me, and I don't remember all the different names of everything, but I get that weekly list of all the BS stuff that tries to come into my system. And I'm amazed at the countries. I mean, there's 50 different countries that you're telling me that stuff is coming from. I think we all have to become more intelligent. We may not want to know how it all works. We want to push the buttons, but we need somebody that we can trust that can take care of it. And uh, I'm pretty amazed. My first computer was back in the 80s, 20 megabyte Packard Bell. And and I changed over to Macs. I think I have 6 or 7 laptops sitting around the house from different generations because I just don't want to put them in the landfill somewhere. Not because I'm that much of an environmentalist, but because I don't know what data they could still get off it if they found it when they were digging. Um,
Yes.
what,
Yeah.
and there's so much information. I know you had to go fast on this. Um, I would recommend anybody that has questions, either on the uh, mastermind today or people watching the recording on the website or the YouTube channel. What would you suggest for them to look for if they are doing it already, or they have that pro that's doing it, or to contact you? I just had something a couple days ago saying that uh, I was going to lose my life. The death lasers were coming down because they didn't pay a ticket on the tollway, and I said they sent it to 15 people, and and it's like I think of this. So I picked up the phone like you taught me, and I called. They said, no, we don't have you down for any tickets, and that we've all seen, things that come from banks saying that they've locked our account and said, I don't even have an account at that bank. So do I have to worry that somebody's just trying to hack me? Or did somebody set up an account in my bank and all of a sudden I'm going to have bought 5 houses that I can't get access to?
Right, right. Yeah, a lot of them, like you said, you don't have an account. They just, a lot of times you're just a number, right? And they're just spraying it out and seeing who they can catch, right? So who does have that bank account, or maybe who's so busy that they didn't recognize that it wasn't their bank account. They just logged in and clicked the link. Um, so yeah, my biggest advice for any small business owner to start implementing security into their lives, their business, is one to turn on that MFA, turn on multi-factor. There is some resistance at first because it's that extra step, but that extra step is truly, really, really just to protect you, right? Because passwords get stolen, passwords can be figured out with software within a matter of seconds. Um, and then, most people, their passwords are spring 2026 with an exclamation point, or their loved one's name with the year that they met and an exclamation point. Just really easy things that if you just went to Facebook and maybe looked at somebody for a little bit and observed them, oh, well, their dog's name is Spot. So Spot 123 exclamation point. So these things could be really easily hacked. Whereas when you have that multi-factor authentication, somebody you would have to steal your phone or steal total access to your email to be able to truly authenticate into that system. So it's really important to have that little nuisance, that little extra step in place to protect your systems. That's the first thing I would do. The second thing is I would leave my Gmail for my, like, if my business name at Gmail, I would stop using that and I would move into something like Microsoft with a .com so that I could have more of those anti-spam policies in place. And it's less likely that someone can just create a lookalike address.
Well, what about the problem? So many things I'm seeing now are Google based, and I have to use my Gmail account. I hardly ever used my Gmail account. I had to get one because one of my vendors was doing it for price list and updating information. And now sorry, CenturyLink is using it for my Wi-Fi, and everybody wants to use a Gmail account. Paramount Plus, to get into my subscription TV shows. It's a Gmail account. So how do you will they
There's a
let you
workaround.
use a different account or?
So it doesn't, it's not obvious at first, but you can absolutely make a Google account that doesn't use a Gmail email address. You can use whatever email address you want for a Google account. There's an option when you're creating an account to say use a different email, and you could use your .com, and it sends a code to your email to verify that you're actually the owner of that email. And then you're able to set a password to that and log in. Anytime you forget your password, it just sends back to that secure email of yours. So you don't technically have to make an at gmail.com email address just to use Google applications.
Well, and I think that password keeper that you have me on, I don't have to remember the password. So that's
Yeah. And
sorry.
so what it also does is in the back end you can go through all your passwords and it'll tell you like you reuse this password so many times. And you can go in there, generate a unique string, a unique password, and save it to that account. And you just need the one really good password that you log in with every day, plus maybe your MFA. And then that gets you access to all those passwords, and then it autofills into anything. You could put it on your cell phone, you put it on your laptop, you put it on all your devices, and it just autofills for you, and you never have to remember any password but that one to get in.
Do we have any other questions from all of y'all? Oliver.
Get off mute here. Thank you, Todd. Yeah, so and then you're seeing these advertisements all the time. One of them that I haven't seen in a while, Guardia. I, you've heard of that one?
Guardia, I feel like I've heard of it, but I haven't really used it.
Yeah, and
Um,
when I do a web search on it, there's not much. So I'm assuming they're either not legit or they're just very, very new. So
yeah. Did you remember what it said it did? I can't
it's
remember.
what, yeah, it's like a computer sort, kind of like a, like LifeLock, protects your identity and stuff like that. So Guardia,
I've been seeing them a lot for like maybe a year now.
okay, so Guardia kind of does the same thing with your online identity, supposedly. So I don't know.
Yeah, so it sounds like that tool is like where they do the dark web scanning. So they'll look at your passwords and your email address, and they'll look online on the dark web to see if any of that information is up for sale, and then it'll notify you. Those are really good to have. Like the password keeper I use has that built in. Then we also use a couple other systems to just check that as well. But so identity protection software like that is great. Like LifeLock is great for on the consumer side, but there's also tools for businesses as well that I use.
And particular ones you recommend?
Yeah, I really like Keeper. There's one called Keeper is really good. It's Keeper Security. LastPass is pretty good. Some people may be weary of it because they had a incident where one of their employees were phished and somebody did get access and they stole data, but the data they stole was encrypted. So it was useless when they stole it. They couldn't even read the information. So I'm still confident in LastPass as well.
Okay, and with encryption, is it possible to encrypt like, like I have a bunch of, like Microsoft, like, Word, Excel, basically any document. Can you encrypt any document?
Yes.
Okay.
So one of the things that you can do right away that won't cost you anything extra is your actual operating system, as long as it's released in the last 5, 10 years. So Microsoft has their 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 locker. I'm slipping my mind right now. There's encryption on with Microsoft that you can turn on your operating system that encrypts all your data when you're logged out. and it's called File Vault on a Mac. Um, and so a Mac, you can also turn that on. And so it protects you only just a little bit. So it's really just protects you if your device is stolen, because once you log into your account on your device, that encryption is freed up. That's how you can access your files and use them. And then there's third-party tools that I use and we set up on my clients that actually encrypts the data, all of it, while you're actually on it, so that if there was maybe an attack that happened while you were logged in and they stole the information, it would be useless at that point because they need the software on your computer to open it normally. So there are ways to encrypt all your files and protect them with some third-party software tools. But then there's the one that I recommend everybody start with, and that's the built-in for the operating system. And in that QR code I have over here, the first step, you can sign up for a ransomware attack, this free PDF. But the next step in that little funnel is there's a chance to book an appointment with me. You can do a free cybersecurity analysis on your system and all your devices. And then I can let you know if you have that encryption turned on, and if you have if your passwords are stored correctly on your device, and it can let you know about some of those vulnerabilities. And it's free, so why not? We get to talk more about you specifically and help you out.
The other part I would say, Todd, is I know you're out in Edwardsville Valley area, and you work with a lot of businesses locally,
Mm-hmm.
but it's been really easy for me, even being on a virtual thing. We get on our weekly calls, and I send stuff to you or one of your guys, and I get a response back, within minutes. And I like that because if I'm in the middle of something and I recognize that, I don't want to forget about it and talk to you 3 weeks from now.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, yeah. And we also have like a help desk. So if you're stuck in something or something's happening, you can call it 24/7, and people can help that way, remote in and just give you remote support. Most of technology these days, you can work with someone and they can help you remotely through most problems, unless it's a hardware failure and you got to replace some hardware, but that's pretty rare.
Any other question? Val, I was thinking about you when Todd was talking about, because I know how precious all your stories are. Are you doing something so that only you have access, or somebody that you say afterwards has access? How
Well,
are you taking care of your stuff?
I have three different external drives. I don't keep anything on my computer. Everything goes on an external drive, and I take them out, take them away, they're not on my computer at night when I close up. And so I'm not sure that that's great, but I was just thinking about it. I haven't backed up for a little while, so I'm really going to do that today and get it because I've got precious. I lost my email through a lovely group. I won't tell you their name. I'd love to disparage them, but I won't. But they threw away, and I had paid for them to transfer it, and they never did. And so it just, I lost emails from all these prisoners of war that, oh my God, I just really wanted to cry. But what are you going to do? It's done. So
Well,
I'm careful with my oral histories.
I have some advice for future protection of that.
Okay.
There's a lot of different software out there that you could use to back up your email systems. So, for example, I had a client who lost an email or somehow it was deleted, and I was able to go in and instantly restore the email because all their emails are backed up. It's configured to their Microsoft. So there's email system backups that you can put in place, but also you mentioned that you had them on a couple different drives. There's a practice that we call 3-2-1 backups. So you want three copies. You want one being the original, two being one backed off offsite somewhere. Maybe that's in the cloud. That's
Mhm.
what I would recommend. And then another backup copy that's maybe local, like the one you described, which is on like a hard drive locally. That way, if there was something that happened to the physical ones, you'd have another backup somewhere else. like
Right.
legacy protection of like fire, flood, or whatever. And then the original copy is the original, and then the one offsite somewhere helps protect from any of the physical things that happen. So that's the 3-2-1 strategy, and I highly recommend that to protect your data.
That's
That's a
actually
really
what we would do with, excuse me, photographers. Because if, as a professional photographer, if you sell an image by state, it's somewhere between 7 and 10 years. You have to keep that what used to be the negative, so you can make copies of it. Now it's digital, but I'm still a believer in a hard copy. I just printed off a manual yesterday for a new client, and it was 32 pages. I'm going, oh crap, I got to use paper and ink. And I said, no, I'm making the printed copy, and then I made the digital copy. And that's we got to protect ourselves.
I do have files and files and files of documents, PDFs. I had a woman, and another woman right now is creating a database. So I know every document I have, who wrote it, who whatever. And so we have almost all of my all of my documents. I did back them up because at least I started in the right time when we didn't do the so much saving online. So anyway.
Yeah, it's nice to utilize the cloud as we call it, because if anything happens ever physically, it's you can access that from any device, and it's just it's really good backup system. And when you use proper services that do that, it'll be secured and encrypted on those servers and protected.
It's not just Apple, it's someplace else.
Yeah, like I've used a product called Accident. I've been using Data lately. I don't know if they sell those consumer side, if it's just through like companies like mine, but
Huh?
the, those are the systems that I typically use.
Well,
Um,
I'll set up an appointment with you and talk to you about that because truly the oral histories, those men are all dead now, and the women, and it's just
yeah,
I'd really be sad if I lost them.
absolutely. Yeah. So those are pretty much irreplaceable things right
Yeah,
there.
truly.
Well, we're up at the top of the hour. I want to respect everybody's time. I appreciate you coming on. I personally recommend Todd. Hopefully, that doesn't mean you don't want to do business with them, but he really has saved me a lot of time and effort, and I appreciate the relationship, Todd. Any last minute question before I shut off the recorder?
No.
I do see some requests for the slides, and yeah, I can send those over. Let me go ahead and copy that your email there. But feel free to, if anyone ever wants to contact me, my website's double-o-digital.com. Just like how it's spelled behind me here, other side. Yeah, right. Double-o-digital.com, and then Todd in front of that's my email. So thanks everyone for your time.
All right,
Thank you.
guys.
Good job.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Hope to see a bunch of you at university next week or the after party. And Todd, you and I'll be talking later in the week, I'm sure.
Yeah, talk to you in a few days.
All right. Thanks. Bye now.